We're here with Professor Adele Morrison, who teaches in Northern Illinois, though she's visiting Denver this year. Where I wanted to start was critical race theory. When, where, how did you get interested? What did it do for you?
Oh, wow. Like, okay, what are we doing? Critical race theory, how and why, how did I get interested in it? I was an undergraduate. I started my work actually at Indiana University, but I graduated from San Francisco State on Women's Studies and Ethnic Studies, undergraduate. So my degree, my BA is in Women's Studies and Ethnic Studies. And through that, in early 90s, before law school, some of the exposure, and it was one of the first things that I had actually read was Patricia Williams' Alchemy of Race and Violence. I was thinking about going to law school, and I had read that book, and it definitely resonated. And also, just within women's studies, we have a women of color, which part of the focus or central subject positioning of the women's studies department at San Francisco State.
So did that exposure matter or make a difference as you were going through law school?
Absolutely. I mean, basically, I sort of survived law school with the likes of, Patricia Williams, Derek Vale, Richard Delgado's work. There was actually Regina Austin, Margaret McAvoy.
But my question remains: how did it change how you went through law school?
Well, it changed how I went through law school because it resonated with sort of my own experiences in saying that what the law could and how the law should be written and what it could be, and that the ability not to have to sort of to not think that what I had experienced, and even read about or anything was actually sort of insane. Right, it's like the way the law, it's like they say this is the law over here, and it's like, well, that's not the way it works for poor people and people of color and women and gay people and poor folk and people, immigrants and non-white. That's not the way it works, particularly coming out of San Francisco State. And I came out of social services and worked with poor people and married women. It's like, and tons of issues with the law.
Did you feel that there was resistance to those postures, those ideas as you were going through law school?
Yes and no, and there was some sort of a backtracking. I say yes and no because in law school at the time there were definitely some core faculty members. Gerald Lopez, I was at Stanford. Gerald Lopez, Kim Taylor, Thompson, and others who were very much sort of that and were TK Clay. There was the War for Social Change program. And yet, it was sort of this isolated little, group over here that were like, okay, those are those people, so those are those crit, those are the learn social change, those people who learn subordination. And so, but in law school, you get your from like day one, you're like trapped practically, right? Well, those are the people who are the lower new types, and those are the people, Then you got your progressives, your crits over there. So, but, in the general class, absolutely, there'd be things like towards, and it got to a point where it's like, the professor would start things with like, well, Adele won't like this, but, and it's like, and I had a bit of an advantage. I was slightly older than a lot of students, so I had sort of had a different sort of take on it and was willing, but finding that scholarly support, because you're in a very scholarly environment, and it's like, and everyone's telling you it's this way, but hey, look, there's a whole bunch of really, really, really smart people in really, really, really good places who tell you, no, it's not. There is another way to look at it. There is another way.
Let me then change gear just a little bit. When and where did the interface with latcrit happen?
Latcrit. When did I first interface with latcrit? I think it was, after law school, after I did my Echo and Green Fellowship, I'm a Hasty Fellow, and at the University of Wisconsin. And the Hasty Fellowship program, has the design of it is mostly critical race theory folks. And
this is the program which facilitates critical minds to move hopefully into the law teaching profession.
Yeah, I mean the design is to increase the number of underrepresented voices in the legal academy. So, and some are not necessarily Crips. It's people of color, and primarily focused on people of color, women, Canadian folks, underrepresented voices, historically underrepresented voices.
So where did that correct?
So, let's see, here was it.
Do you remember your first event?
I do remember my first event. I remember the result of it too. But a whole other story. Latcrit, my first Latcrit was Latcrit Portland. And I was working on a piece that actually it was Elvia. That's who it was.
Okay.
No, it wasn't Elvia. Who was it? I don't remember who it was. But I was working on this piece, my thesis that was dealing with the application. It's an intersectionality and queer legal theory and domestic violence issues. And there was this piece that I was doing on battered women of color, and I don't remember who had suggested it, to submit. And I went to Portland, and I friends of Portland was like, oh, great,
and the rest is history.
And the rest is history. And the thing about it was that I ended up on a panel. I was like, fresh little first Latcrit thing. Never have been there before. I'm, going to do a little presentation because, you get out there and you present. I'm going to panel with Richard Delgado and Chief Stefancic. And that's it, because the other person was sick. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just going to die. I was like, hey.
You have brought
and he said it was very good.
You have brought up quite a few names. We think of Latcrit as a community, but then there are some names, some personalities that always come to mind when we say Latcrit. Could you say one or two people that come to your mind when we say Latcrit, and what does that mean?
Oh, Frank Valdez.
What's Frank Valdez?
Frank Valdez as the godfather of Latcrit in some ways, but as a cornerstone. But also, Frank, for me, very early on in my teaching career, is Frank willing to sit up with me as long as I needed to talk to about the issues of being, queer of color, lefty in progressive legal academy, and where I was going to, as a hasty fellow, where I would try and job hunt, how to position yourself without having to tons of people would say, I'm like, you're going to do your job shotgun, I'm going to do my job shotgun. My thesis is called Queer Domestic Violence. They're like, you don't want to do that. And he was like, you should do what you're passionate about, what you're writing about, and if, basically, we set up, it's not odd to be up until 4 o'clock in the morning, at a hospitality suite, but,
do you remember what both of you were drinking?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I don't remember. I probably had a beer.
Do you remember what he was wearing?
Like a white T-shirt and a pair of board shorts. I think that was about it.
Well, let's go make some more friends and we'll talk about them next time. Thank you.